Darren Rizzi revamps. The Saints. Does winning actually hurt New Orleans' future? Ladies and gentlemen, today the backdrop. After further review, Matt Moscona, an unbelievable selection for this. I'm not even sure what it's called. Is that a turtleneck? Is that a sweater turtleneck? I'm not sure what's going on here. Multiple buttons. Very interesting. Now the title of this show. Okay. Does winning actually hurt the New Orleans Saints' future? Now, yesterday, I'm filming this on a Friday. Yesterday, I posted a video, not a reaction video, just a good old-fashioned TED Talk featuring me, about how tanking and this like misnomer of you need draft picks to turn a team around was completely ridiculous and one of the dumbest things possible. Completely annihilated the entire conversation. Just a real masterclass, really. But enough about me. Then I see this. So I'm thinking, well, hold on a second. Is Matthias about to tell me and you and the world that somehow winning hurts the Saints because they won't get a high enough draft pick? So we're going to watch the video and see if that's exactly what happened.
Board with us. How are you, man?
Doing good. We're on the hot streak.
Hey, man, 2 in a row, one more. They call that a winning streak. How about that? And seriously, though, I mean, it is impressive the fact that they went from a 7-game losing streak to turning around at least the vibes around the building. I mean,
I can't get over the
I
sweater.
would feel like is pretty palpable. Yes, I mean, it's got to be different, Mike, being around there than during a 2-month losing streak.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's better for everyone involved except for the draft pick, the higher draft pick conversation. Everything else about it is better. It's better for players to go to work. It's better for coaches to go to work. It's better for the media to be in there talking to people who are in good moods and writing different kinds of stories other than who should get fired and how long is this losing streak going to last and who's to blame. I mean, it's always better. It's always a better atmosphere.
Where do you fall in the picks versus wins conversation?
Here we go. Get ready. Get fired up. I'm fired up. Here we go. I cannot wait to hear this. I cannot wait to dismantle this. If someone starts saying that we should get all these high picks and blah, 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 I've got the notepad of doom right here, okay? Now, Thursday in the video, I mentioned that I did a little homework to educate the masses, and I had a little beautiful screenshot on the screen. This was the handwritten notepad. I mean, should I sign this and put this on eBay? Should I sign the handwritten notes documenting the win-loss record and whatnot, which I will reference, I'm sure, in this video? Let's hear the hypothesis. Let's hear what they got to say first before I pop off.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like picks is the answer.
Okay.
Going 9-8 instead of 3-14 doesn't amount to much, and getting the number 2 pick in the draft amounts to a lot usually. I mean, you can screw that pick up too, but the problem is you have to go through an 18-week process of doing that. You don't just get to pick a record and a draft pick. Like if they could say, let's end the season now, come back in April and pick second, that would be one thing.
All right. I think we've heard enough to where we can pop off. This patently is not true. Bottom line, it is a complete misnomer. It is a complete myth. It is a complete manufactured, make-believe, fugazi, manufactured for all the ESPN cronies. All right? ESPN is the reason for this. And you may be thinking, James, what are you talking about, brother? Who owns the NFL draft? Who shows the NFL draft? ESPN. ESPN has tried and made us believe that draft rankings, top picks, the draft itself, all of that is a premier event, which over time, it has become a premier event. It's probably the second biggest event beyond the games in the NFL's calendar. It is a huge thing. I mean, it's over 3 days. We all know how big of a deal it is, all right? But in reality, if you take away what ESPN wants us to believe and you look at just what has happened, are the best teams the ones with the most picks? Are the best teams the ones picking the highest? Does picking the highest turn around a franchise? What has number 1 overall picks done? When you start looking at all of that, it becomes incredibly apparent that it doesn't matter at all. It's a complete lottery. It's a complete throw the dart, from draft rankings to prospect grades to all of that. You can find the best quarterback of all time. You can find the best quarterback of all time with pick number 1, or with a pick in the 7th round, or a pick in the 5th round, or a pick in the 6th round. Now, sure, theoretically, if you are first, you have way more people to pick from, no doubt about it. But the idea that somehow having higher picks guarantees a turnaround or guarantees success is absolutely bananas in pajamas. Let me show you this. The Jacksonville Jaguars, okay? The Jacksonville Jaguars have had 15 top, and this is over the last 20 years, okay? Over the last 20 years, all right? The record is over the last 25 years. Over the last 25 years, the Jaguars are 151 and 247. That is horrible. Over the last 20 years, they have had 15 top 10 picks and 8 top 5 picks. That's a whole lot. During this run right here, from 2008 to 2018, almost 10 years, almost a decade, they picked exclusively in the top 10. 8, 8, 10, 10, 5, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. For 6 consecutive seasons, they drafted in the top 5. During that time frame, their record was 42 and 103. How is that possible? You tell me. If draft picks are the answer, if high draft picks are the answer, you tell me how that's the case. Because then you're going to say, well, bad coach. Well, bad GM. Well, how about this? What we're talking about since 2000, okay? The Jaguars have been around since 1995. Since 2000, what we're talking about has spanned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are these the coaches or GMs? This is the GMs. Has spanned 5 GMs. Okay? So a lot of people say, well, fire Mickey Loomis. Mickey Loomis can't do this, or whatever. The front office can't do this. This is 5 separate front offices and 9 head coaches. Okay? During the 2008 to 2018 era that we were talking about, they go from Jack Del Rio to Mike Mularkey to Gus Bradley to Doug Marrone. 4 head coaches. 4 head coaches and 5 GMs. Oh, 4 GMs. 4 GMs and whatever I said. However many head coaches were all a part of this decade of picks. So if it's not the GM, if it's not the coaches, then what actually is going on? The answer is, it matters what you do with all of your picks. The answer is, the draft matters just as much as what you're doing with free agency, just as much with trades, just as much with developing and evaluating players. It matters just as much as your coaches and your coordinators and your scheme and your system. That's the answer. It is not the draft. The draft, here is the overarching thing you need to understand. The draft does not turn teams around. That's it. Let's take a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why the Pittsburgh Steelers? The Pittsburgh Steelers are the second most winning team of the last 25 years. The first is the Patriots. We took them out because they kind of skew the numbers because of the Tom Brady thing. The Steelers have won the second most amount of games since 2000, almost 25 years. Okay? In that time frame, the Steelers are 253 wins, 141 losses, 3 ties. Their average pick over that time frame is 21.7. Average. They have had 0 top 5 picks in that time frame and 1 top 10 pick in that time frame. That one top 10 pick was Devin Bush since 2004 to 2024. It was Devin Bush, and he was pick number 10. So they've had 0 single-digit picks. In fact, the Steelers since 1970. All right? Think about how good the Steelers have been. Since 1970, the Pittsburgh Steelers have drafted in the top 5 once. It's when they took Terry Bradshaw first overall in 1970. Okay? 1970, they take Bradshaw first overall. Since then, they have never been in the top 5. There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Bottom line. Well, James, you're just cherry picking the Steelers and the Jaguars. Actually, let's go back to the trusty notepad of doom. The teams that have drafted the most are the highest average, I should say. The highest average of draft picks. So the pick number that they have on average is the highest. The Browns, 11.8. The Raiders, 11.8. The Jaguars, 12.7. The Bears, 12.6. The Lions, 13.4. Anything stick out about those teams? Oh, they have all been absolutely ass for the last 25 years. Remember, this is a 20-year sample size, 25 years for the records. The Browns, 11 top 10, 6 top 5. Raiders, 10 top 10, 6 top 5. Jaguars, where they went over. The Lions, 11 top 10, 6 top 5. During that time frame, there's a winless season in there. Okay? Bears, 8 top 10, 3 top 5. Now, how about these other teams? The Packers, 22 as far as their average pick. The Steelers, 21.7. The Ravens, 23.1. The Baltimore Ravens, 23.1 is their average pick, with 1 pick in the top 10 and 0 picks in the top 5. Give me your answers. How is it possible? How is it possible that the teams who get the most picks, the most top 5s, the most top 10s for decades and decades and decades are the worst teams in the NFL, and the teams who get the least top 5 picks, top 10 picks are the best teams in the NFL? How is it possible? Because you can't say, oh, well, it's because they've had the same quarterback for 20 years. Brother, these Ravens teams, during these years we're talking about, they drafted Kyle Bowler, okay? This is Joe Flacco. This is Lamar. This is a multitude of quarterbacks. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger is part of that, no doubt, but so is Kenny Pickett, so is Mason Rudolph, so is Russell Wilson currently, okay? Teams adapt. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers, sure. Jordan Love. Okay, they don't draft an offensive player in the first round during Aaron Rodgers' entire career. So it's not like they're just knocking these picks out of the park and they're just going quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. The Eagles, there's one for you. The Eagles are one of the most successful franchises. Their average pick is 17. They've had 3 top 10s, 2 top 5s. The worst pick the Eagles had was when they actually did take a quarterback, 2nd overall, Carson Wentz. They were way more successful with Donovan McNabb. They were way more successful with Nick Foles. They were way more successful now with Jalen Hurts. And McNabb was before all this, so it doesn't even matter. McNabb was before the drafts that we're talking about. But it goes to show you it is about more than just, oh, you have a top 5 pick, things are going to turn around. The worst teams in the NFL are the worst teams for a reason. The infrastructure, the operations, the whole thing. It's not one GM. It's not one coach. It's not one draft pick. Like I said, this Jaguars situation has gone over 9 head coaches and 5 GMs and dozens of draft picks that have gone completely wasted. There you go. Right there. Anyone, I mean, this has been a hell of a rant. Anybody who believes that draft picks equal success, even if you look at picks that have worked out, because it's easy to say, oh, well, Jamarcus Russell this or Jamarcus Russell that or, whatever quarterback. Like, it's easy to be like, oh, well, this player didn't work. Of course he didn't work out. Zach Wilson. Yeah, of course. What about the generational guys? What about the Andrew Lucks? What did Andrew Luck, the highest graded quarterback in the history of the draft, what did Andrew Luck deliver? He delivered 6 seasons. He delivered 4. He was 4-4 in the playoffs. He never got an MVP vote, and that is it. Cool. Fantastic. Matt Stafford, knocked that pick out of the park if you're the Lions. What did he deliver? Absolutely nothing for Detroit. Absolutely nothing. Carson Palmer, Heisman winner, great player, great pro. Cincy knocked it out of the park. What did he deliver? Absolutely nothing. You can go on and on. Even the picks that work. Cam Newton, fantastic pick. Generational pick. No doubt about it. One Super Bowl trip, and then he was barely over 500. Joe Burrow, generational. Hindsight's 2020, one of the best prospects we've seen coming out of college. Super Bowl trip, didn't win it. And the Bengals are barely over 500 in his career at Cincy. Would you believe that? They're like 33-29 in his career in Cincinnati. It's a whole lot more, ladies and gentlemen. It's infrastructure. It's everything.
To go through 15 weeks of what we just went through for 7 weeks, it breaks
that was
your
unbelievable.
Spirit, man. I mean,
that was unbelievable.
It's not good for Darren Rizzi and Derek Carr. It's not good for Alvin Kamara and DeMar Davis. It's not good for Alante Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry and Tali Fuaga and Trevor Penning. I mean, Nick made a good point that, you can re-inject enthusiasm to the program next year if you draft Shedeur Sanders and you draft someone else you're excited about in round 2 and look at all this young talent we've assembled. Sure, new coach, new energy. But it is really tough to get to 3-14. And
Again, I don't want to belabor this, but talk about injecting excitement and, young talent. Imagine in 2008 being a Jaguars fan and being like, man, we just need to suck. We just need a top 10 pick. We need to inject a little bit of youth, inject a little bit of excitement. Oh, my God. We got Blaine Gabbert franchise. Oh, my God. We took Justin Blackmon, top 5. Oh, my God. We have the 2nd overall pick. We took Luke Jokel. Oh, my God. We took Blake. But wait. I thought we took Blaine Gabbert in 2011. Oh, well, I guess he didn't work out. No big deal. We got Blake Bortles now. Oh, we have another 3rd pick. We have Dante Fowler. Oh, my God. Jalen Ramsey can't miss. All pro. Oh, my God. Leonard Fournette, one of the best running backs in college history. Look at all this excitement that was pumped in there. And again, 42-103. Oh, we're not done yet. You have back-to-back 1st overall picks. Trevor Lawrence, the 2nd highest graded quarterback in the history of the draft. 1st was Andrew Luck. 2nd highest ever. 2nd best prospect, according to all of these draft boards, ever. You go back-to-back with one of the picks being him after basically a decade of drafting in the top 10. And what do you got? Abso-effing-lutely nothing. You are 151-247, and you're probably the worst team in the NFL. So I don't want to hear about this excitement. I don't want to hear about drumming up anything. Don't look at me like that, Matthew. I don't want to hear about drumming up excitement for the franchise and all and whatnot. It makes absolutely no sense. There is no excitement when you're losing. When you're 42-103, good luck drumming up excitement. Oh, we drafted Jalen Ramsey. He's a can't-miss cornerback. You're right about that. Well, you're also 151-247 over the last 25 years. Where's the excitement?
I did a story yesterday. DeMar Davis refused to play along with me and single out his former teams, the Jets and the Browns. But he said, I won't name any other organizations. He goes, but yeah, you see other organizations who are constantly in a rebuild and they never win. They never make the playoffs. And he said, you can't build a culture and an atmosphere if you're like that. So there are some benefits to being a team that never quite sinks that low.
What do you think is the ceiling for this team? Wins, losses?
Well, what are we at right now?
Probably the ceiling is 9 wins. But I would say, I would say the ceiling, the highest bar, I think is 9 wins.
Right now, 4-7 with 6 to go. They could go 4-2 and be an 8-9 team. There's really no games on the schedule they can't win. It'd be hard to beat the Rams. It'd be hard to win at Green Bay on Monday Night Football in late December.
I think Green Bay is the hardest one. I think Green Bay is the most difficult game on the schedule remaining. I think the Rams are beatable just because of the spot. We're dogs. We're not supposed to win the game, but I think just because of the spot, it's difficult for the Rams. Green Bay, prime time, a couple days before Christmas at Green Bay, very difficult game there. I think that is the game where I look at it and I'm like, I just don't know if I see this one.
December.
But obviously, it's any game. Any game you can win.
But I think they're competitive enough that they could theoretically win any of the games. I just have a hard time believing in the consistency of going 5-1 or 6-1, which would be 7-1 and 8-1 if you lump in these 2 victories. So there will be more losses But I think what we've seen the last couple of weeks is a little bit more how we were talking about and what we were expecting this team to look like, before the injury avalanche and then the snowball effect of all those losses that were just sinking them deeper and deeper.
If they go 8-9, that means Darren Rizzi over a 8-game audition would have gone 6-2. Does that get him the job?
Not just Rizzi. It also means that Clint Kubiak, and it means that the whole staff has things kind of figured out. And I think if you're looking at it as a package deal, like, hey, we keep Rizzi, that keeps Kubiak and Janoko, that gives, because we at least believe in that, right? Like the roster and all that, like you kind of change some things around, you restructure contracts, you do all that stuff. But the foundational level, you have to at least believe in the scheme. I think 8-9 gets Rizzi the job.
I don't think it cements the job, but he is very much.
He's the front runner.
6-2. I mean, probably maybe even front runner status. I mean, we have to see what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
It can't just be beating lousy teams and getting creamed by good teams.
Works for Dennis Allen.
It has to be like an, oh wow, you went to Green Bay on Monday night and beat the Packers, and then you beat Tampa Bay to finish the season. Man, you've really got this team rolling. I don't know exactly what it has to look like, but 6-2 gives him as good of odds as any other candidate.
Yeah.
He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett, NewOrleans.football. Our conversation every Thursday here is brought to you by Benny's Car Wash. I was at Benny's today, as a matter of fact. The Unlimited Wash. I got the add-on for the whole interior clean. Highly recommend it. We talk about it all the time.
You were getting all that salt off your car with this winter weather we're having?
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, you know well about that from your Iowa days, right? What it's like to salt the
yes,
people just don't get it, man. When
Every
you
time
salt
I go home, people don't know how good they have it here if they don't ever go visit the Midwest this time of year. The entire world looks like it's in black and white, like in February if I go home, and every car has just been eroded by salt from the road.
It's so true. And
I don't understand that. I don't understand. Like I just saw where somewhere in Alaska, they're entering 65 straight days of night, and it'll next be sunlight like January 22nd. Guys, just move. Go somewhere else. Y'all ever heard of Florida? Y'all ever heard of Louisiana? Y'all ever heard of the Magnolia State, Mississippi, God's country? I mean, just go there. Go to the beach. I mean, I couldn't imagine sitting somewhere in Alaska where I'm staring at 70 days of night when I could just go to the beach in Biloxi and I've got 14 casinos and I can run up and down the boardwalk and it's 75 degrees in November. Like, what are we doing here? Y'all never been to the beach? Blows my mind. Like, yeah, you can live in Iowa or wherever, or you can get a pair of flip-flops and listen to some Jimmy Buffett and go hang out in Gulf Shores. Never understand it, man.
And it's just incredible. Like, people here think oh, I'd love to be where it's cold. It's not hot all the time. And there's snow. It's it's pretty miserable living in that. Like, really miserable living in that.
Snow is gorgeous when it falls. When it stays for 3 weeks and turns black and gets shoved into an ice ball on the side of the road, it gets less pretty.
Bingo. Okay, so over the last 2 weeks for the New Orleans Saints,
I've only seen snow 2 or 3 times in my life. I am a child of the sun and the sea. I do not do well in cold, wintry, freezing, wet weather. Not for me. I am a sun kind of guy. I am a beach kind of guy. Like I said, I am a 12-pack of beers on a light day and a speaker with some Jimmy Buffett playing, and I'm dozing. I'm dozing in and out. I want to body surf, Destin. I want to be frolicking in the waves with the sharks. That's where I'm at. I am not the kind of hombre that can survive really anything under about 45. I'm in some trouble.
Where have you, on field now, positions, players, where have you noticed improvements that are the most notable that you could project ahead?
Okay, 2 different questions. Yeah, because one answer I was thinking of was the defense kind of took its head out of its butt a little bit. I think during the losing streak, the most shocking thing that we saw is, even veteran players like, Demario Davis, this defensive line, this secondary, Tyrann Mathieu, all these guys were just playing so horrible.
Yeah, I mean, the defense was giving up 500, 600 yards a game. They were giving up 6, 7 yards a rush, like 7 yards a play. It was absolutely horrific. Last couple of games, they've played better. The defensive line's gotten more pressure. The run stopping has been much better. Instead of giving up 6.5, 7 yards a rush, now we're giving up about 3.5 yards a rush. So, yeah, the defense has really stepped up.
Against Tampa Bay and Denver, and it's like, there's not that many injuries on that side of the ball. What happened? And they've shown life again. Still some flaws, still missing a lot of tackles, still giving up explosive plays, but they're showing life again, and that was super important because they're supposed to be the best unit on the team on defense, and they had really fallen into almost being the ugliest. So that is
they were, and it happens, like players do hit a floor where at some point like they kind of had that drop off. And I think the Saints just hit it all at the same time. I think Demario Davis is finally starting to show I mean, last year he was a top 5 linebacker in the NFL. Grade-wise, tackle, numbers-wise, all that stuff. Now, not even close. So he obviously fell. Tyrann has been awful compared to his standards. Like maybe he's starting to fall a little bit, and then you look at Cam Jordan has been falling, but this is the year where he's getting 12, 15 snaps a game. Like things just – I think it all kind of hit at the same time, along with some injuries, along with Lattimore was hurt for a little bit, then he was obviously off the team, and Debo gets hurt. Werner got hurt for time there. So,
There's one big thing that has happened, but as it pertains to the future, I mean, I think we have to talk about the offensive tackles. Trevor Penning might be getting a little too much credit right now. I don't think he is, getting Pro Bowl votes or shouldn't be getting Pro Bowl votes.
Trevor is now playable. He was horrible. Well, he was below horrible. He was like a negative to the team. Then he was horrible. Then he was serviceable, and now he's playable, where he's kind of your first option there. Like, okay, you're okay going to war with Trevor as your right tackle. Is he good? Not yet. Was he good against the Falcons or whatever anemic-ass pass rush that the Falcons have? Yeah. But now Fuaga is baseline good, trending towards one of the best young offensive linemen in the league.
But obviously he's building confidence. He had a tremendous game last week. The Darren Rizzi said the best of his career. He's become a positive in run blocking. Still work in progress in pass protection. That's huge. Tali Fuaga got to go against Myles Garrett. Obviously they had a good plan for giving him a lot of help. But man, that's going through it. If you're a rookie first round left tackle and Myles Garrett only has 2 pressures and no sacks and no QB hits, that's a boon to your confidence. So that's huge. I would say the same for Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry at corner. I think that's what needs to happen over these last couple months. But Alontae Taylor's actually had a couple struggles in these last 2 games. So he needs to start piling up some good games together, I think.
Mike, is there a future for Marquez Valdes-Scantling in New Orleans?
Yeah, for sure. No doubt.
Yeah, I think there should be. I mean, the only negative is he's a little redundant is if he's on the field with Rashid Shaheed.
Correct. So him and Rashid do the exact same thing, right? They're the burner. I think Marquez is currently the better receiver. He's who I trust more just to catch the ball as far as like running routes and contested catches, things like that. Top end burner type atmosphere, like they're kind of just rotational. Rashid is probably more able to be used like on the jet sweeps and some screen work, things like that. So they're kind of like a personnel package, how you plan on using it, but they are kind of the same player. If it was me, I would have Olave, I'd have MVS, and then I would have Rashid as kind of like the person who is you're rotating in and out with MVS, and then of course Shaheed, Pro Bowl level return guy. So, but I mean, I do think if you're, they do check the same boxes. A little baby bit different in the usage, but pretty much the exact same.
And Chris Olave, he's done a little bit better as a Rashid Shaheed replacement than the third guy with those 2 guys. What they really still need is that physical guy, the X receiver, the physical traffic guy, contested catch guy. But he has obviously bounced around a few teams, and realizes there is not always a great fit everywhere you go. They couldn't find that fit for him in Buffalo. And then he comes here and he finds a fit. So that means a lot. Now, will Clint Kubiak be the offensive coordinator? Will this be the scheme they're running? A lot to be determined next year.
He's on Twitter at MikeTriplet, NewOrleans.football. When they come back after the bye this weekend, do you put any, like, we can just have the fun conversation so we can have the fun conversation. What type of scenario would have to unfold for them to get in the mix for the division?
The Falcons would have to really start losing games. The Bucs would have to lose games. The Falcons would have to slip up against the Panthers. The Saints would pretty much have to win. They would pretty much have to win every game but one.
Obviously, Tampa has come back to the pack, and they're 2 games back with 8 to play.
Yeah, I mean, well, Atlanta's come back to the pack. They're tied with Tampa. Yeah, Atlanta's not going to be the problem. I mean, Atlanta looks like they're imploding a little bit right now. Just got creamed by Denver and lost to the Saints the week before. They're only 2 games back of Atlanta. Atlanta actually has some tough games coming up. I mean, it's not out of the question that they could be 1 game back in a week or in 2 weeks. The problem is Atlanta has already clinched tiebreakers against.
Yeah, the problem is that you have to be up on Atlanta. So it's not 2 games, it's 3. So you're going to need a major slip up. And you're going to need a simultaneous major upset by the Saints, whether that's Green Bay, whether that's the Rams, whatever. But that's what you're going to need. You're going to need Atlanta/Tampa to lose games that they should not lose, and you got to win games that you shouldn't win.
Both the Saints and the Buccaneers. So it's really like they're 3 games back with 6 to play.
Yeah, just
so I just don't know if time and space will give them enough runway.
Well. By the way, do you have an opinion on Darren Rizzi getting the job, or still to be determined?
Yeah,
TBD. I mean, it's only been 2 games, TBD. But I like what I see so far. I like the operational stuff. I like what he's doing infrastructure wise, and I do think it's worth a note. It's worth talking about that you do keep the Kubiak-Janoko situation. If you believe in that enough, it's kind of like, I mean, that's a pretty sweet bonus that you hold on to that system, you hold on to that scheme. If you believe Rizzi has the logistical capabilities to be a head coach, which it seems like currently he does, again, it's only been 2 games, you go find you a DC, or if Joe Woods, if Joe Woods impresses, then whatever, but figure that out, then you rock and roll. Right now, if I had to make the decision, I would definitely interview candidates, but Rizzi would be my front runner right now.
I mean, it's hard to ignore what we're seeing. I mean, I don't like short-term thinking. DA saved his job by finishing 4-1 last year. And in hindsight, obviously all the people who wanted to make a change turned out to be right. Although, they did have a great offseason and started 2-0 before other factors came in. So I did think DA hit the ground running this year a little bit, building off of that success from late last year. But you don't want to get caught up in hey, this feels good right now, let's keep it going. Ideally, you're only hiring a head coach once a decade on average, and you want to, interview the 10 best candidates you can and attract the best candidates you can and find the next Sean Payton. So you don't want convenient and you don't want to be trapped in the moment. But man, it's hard to ignore all the good things he brings to the table. I think what they need more than anything is a culture builder right now, even more than a X's and O's person. And he is. Well,
yeah, I mean the X's and O's. It's a coordinator league, so the X's and O's. That's where Kubiak comes in. That's where Janoko comes in. That's where all these guys come in. Like the X's and O's isn't exclusively like Mike Tomlin is not an X's and O's guy, right? Like there's a lot of cases. Dan Campbell is not an X's and O's guy.
He's also a Bill Parcells disciple who has been in the league a long time, interviewed for head coaching jobs before. It's not totally random that he finds himself in this position. So I can't ignore it. I can't ignore the possibility that maybe he is a good leader of a program type of personality.
We shall see in short order. Mike Triplett, NewOrleans.football. He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett, with us every Thursday, and courtesy of Benny's Car Wash. Benny'sCarWash.com. You'll get the unlimited car wash plan. I'm telling you, it's like the best $16 a month I spend. You roll through Benny's Car Wash.
$16 a month. Shee. God dog. Man. I mean, hey. Get it how you live, Benny's. Get it how you live. Damn. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know in the comments below what you think. I appreciate y'all hanging on if you got to the end of this, my little rant. Also, let me know where I can get one of those sweater things that Matthias is wearing. Thank you. Whoa, Matt, relax, pal. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video.